Welcome to the Reinvented Life with Pamela Chanel David. Do you want to step up your game? Pursue your dreams. Be the best version of yourself. The Reinvented Life is here to help. The Reinvented Life is about courage. It's about staying relevant. It takes grit. It defies gravity. It's about taking inventory of where you are today and where you want to go. Embrace change. Make things possible and reinvent your life. Call in with questions at 888-994-4995. Now, it's time to reinvent your life with Pamela Chanel.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome once again and back to the Reinvented Life. Always love having you here. Always love showing the possibilities of life, and always love showing people, whether you're listening, whether you're viewing this, of how to embrace change. It is a scary word. It is a word that evokes a lot of fear for a lot of people. And one of the sweet spots, if you will, in the Reinvented Life is showing people how all is possible when you do embrace it. Today's guest, we have known each other our whole lives. Our families have known each other. Our parents have known each other. Our grandparents have known each other. But never in the last, I think, 4 years of the shows I've been doing on the Reinvented Life has there been a guest that has a greater story of reinvention. And it's so important that this story in particular get told, because this story is one of compassion. This story is certainly one of courage, and the bravery that Renee brings forward in her work and with this story is intertwined. They're inseparable. Renee is a marriage and family therapist. She specializes in trauma and brings to it a love and, as I mentioned, a bravery like nothing I've ever seen. So with that, let me welcome Renee this morning to the Reinvented Life. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really well. I know this is a very and about to be a very moving show. It's an unexpected turn, of course, in your life. But I want to just open up with you sharing a little bit about your story and about the courage that it's taking to come forward with this story. So with that, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a big one for me. I'll have to say I'm pretty nervous about it. I'm always, putting myself out there as a marriage and family therapist. I've been in practice for 20 years. I have always leaned towards specializing in trauma. I really like to help people get underneath what's happening for them into, breaking free of what they've gone through in their lives. And I have gone through parallel situations, I guess, as some of my clients have. So it is a parallel process for me, for sure. So I guess I'll start with, I don't know, Pam, where do you want me to start? How far back do you want me to go?
Well, let's go back as far as you're comfortable. I think the theme of this program is sort of breaking the stigma and having compassion and love, as I know you do, for all families that may be struggling. You see them professionally. You've certainly now gone through this personally are going through. And I think one of the things that moved me the most was the other day when you sent me a text that grief and love can coexist. And I think that's a really good place to start this story off about your daughter, about the love, and about how love and grief can really coexist together.
Okay. Well, in 1998, April 24th, exactly 24 hours after my birthday, I had this beautiful light of a daughter, Ariana, which actually means graceful light. We spell it Aurianna. So she was just a spark plug. She was full of life and love and energy. I don't think we slept at all the first couple years of her life. And we were like so enthralled with her, but overwhelmed, you know? So she came in, she loved food, she loved people, she wanted experience, and we were just trying to keep up with her. She was just, you know, amazing that way. But as time went on, we really found that she had a really hard time regulating. And I got really lucky. I was interning at the time with a pretty knowledgeable child psychologist who said, oh, you know, she might have some sensory processing stuff. You want to get her evaluated. So at 3, we had her evaluated. We did some OT to try to calm her nervous system. She just couldn't calm down. She always had little sweaty hands and just had a difficult time soothing, but I could soothe her. You know, when I would, you know, lie with her, breastfeed, all of that, I could soothe her, but she had a hard time soothing herself. And so as she went on, um, you know, during all this, she had like an amazing personality. She used to do impersonations in first grade. She did this one person show where she would pretend to be a chef all by herself on stage, and she'd go, oh, the juicy ripe tomatoes. And everybody came up to us after and said, oh my God, she's going to be an actress. And we thought, maybe, who knows? I mean, it was kind of amazing that she could get up there in first grade and do that kind of thing herself. So that tells you a little bit about her personality.
Yeah.
But she had a really tough time in school, really tough time. She was diagnosed with ADHD. Teachers had a hard time. We had a hard time as parents trying to help the teachers help her. It was a lot of trying to advocate for her. And it was stressful. It was stressful. Her in school was really stressful. So, you know, we did a lot for her as far as we had her tested and we did therapy and we even went to a psychiatrist and tried some ADHD meds. Nothing worked great for her, to be honest. Even the meds, we tried different things. We finally kind of settled on guaifenesin, which is 10x, which is actually a high blood pressure medicine that they used off label then for ADHD. And that worked the best for her. And she kind of stayed on that throughout her life. But, you know, kids like this, and I really feel like I need to say this, kids that are neurodivergent, that's a really important word, that are outside the box, that are creative and just amazing, but they don't fit in the box. They don't do well in our society. They don't do well in our schools. Our schools are not equipped. Even therapists and medical professionals are not equipped. And so we were struggling as parents to kind of get the schools to, you know, help her, to try to inform them what she needed. And, you know, I see both sides. I know that it's tough for teachers. I get the whole gamut because I treat people on both sides. So, you know, it's hard to play the blame game here, but there needs to be better. We need to do better. So, you know, she struggled and she got a lot of negative feedback in school and got in trouble all the time. This is an actual funny story. She went to a school where the dean of the middle school was my ex-boss's son. And his name, I don't know if I should out him. I won't out his name, but yeah, that's one of her art pieces. That's one of her art pieces. I'll get back to that later. So the dean of the school, um, his name was in my phone, so my phone would light up all the time because she'd be in trouble all the time. And I, you know, at some points it was getting kind of ridiculous. I'd like, you guys can deal with that there. That's not a big deal. But you know, she just didn't like school. So anyway, Ariana was really, really into cooking. And so, at one point during middle school, I'll back up a little bit, she did start using drugs to kind of
Mhm.
manage her symptoms. She really should have been diagnosed with bipolar also earlier, but she wasn't. She'd go through bouts of not sleeping and kind of mania, but nobody really wanted to diagnose her. So we had to make the hard decision at 16 to put her in treatment. We had to put her in a residential treatment facility. Hardest thing we ever did, almost second hardest thing we ever went through with her. And it really helped her. She started cooking for the girls in the house. And remember when I said she did that thing in first grade about the juicy ripe tomatoes? Well, she was a chef, not an actress. So
Yeah.
she started cooking. And when she got out of treatment, she landed a job at 16 at a major restaurant in San Francisco. And she stayed there and she worked her little tushy off. And we had never seen her so focused. She had never been that focused. Yes, chef, no chef. We're like, who is this kid? So
Yeah.
she ended up working her way through all the stations and then working herself into her first Michelin star restaurant. And it was amazing. We got to eat there. She cooked for us. It's one of our just most cherished memories of her. She was in her element. She was an artist. And so she would know how to plate the food and to make it look lovely. And so she went from that restaurant to another Michelin star restaurant. So it was Commonwealth in San Francisco and then Sons and Daughters for any of you in the
Mhm.
Bay Area. Commonwealth is no longer there. So Sons and Daughters was the last restaurant she was in, and then COVID hit and she couldn't work. And as you know, everything shut down. Restaurants were hit particularly hard. So COVID hit and her drug use went up. And she was trying to mitigate her symptoms with Xanax, which is prescribed by her psychiatrist, by the way. And if any of you have seen the Xanax show on Netflix, you know that that's not a great thing to be giving kids or anybody because it's highly addictive. And she wasn't getting enough from the psychiatrist, so she started getting it off the streets. Now she knew about fentanyl. She was pretty street savvy. Um, but we spent a ton of time with her the years of COVID, and although we stayed really close as a family, she was going down. And we were trying to get her into treatment and you can't do it as easy at 22 as you can do it at 16 because she's an adult. So she tried some different things outpatient. They weren't enough. And she went to Sacramento to get something more for herself. And we got the fateful call. She OD'd and she didn't make it. And that was a hard call to get. So excuse me. So her and her
Okay.
dad, we had to drive. We had to drive to Sacramento and get her car and say goodbye to her. So it's a pretty brutal story. But I can't tell you how much she's with me. She's with me now, going, it's okay, Mom, you can do this. So this depicts some of her artwork. She really didn't use words, she used pictures. And this is one of her pictures of how she felt in the world. This is like my favorite one because it's so beautiful. You got the dark and the light there. And she used art to depict how she felt inside. And I feel as wanting to pass on her to the world and her legacy. That was the light. I have to show you guys this. We had cups made of that picture that I use every day. It's pretty awesome, huh?
Beautiful,
So
beautiful. Her creative genius really is striking in these photos, and to lose her from at least her earthly part of her life so short, it's inconceivable uh, for most parents. Yet her legacy, her contribution, is not just evidence in this gorgeous art, but it's evident in what she leaves you with and how you continue her life in such a way to not only honor her, but to be an inspiration for so many. This discussion of drug use and how it evolves, and as you most aptly said, stems way back. And the discussion, if we can help one classroom, one school system, one school district to recognize that those children that are different, those children that are such creative geniuses,
Pam,
still
could
have
hold,
a
could you hold
place.
that thought? They're paving my walkway and they're ringing the doorbell. Can you hold that thought for a minute? I'm so sorry. We're having chaos here. I'll be right back.
That's okay. But what I want our listeners and our viewers to take from this story, and as I say, this is going to be part one of a two-part series, is
I'm back.
this is a wonderful family. There are incredible families out there that deal with these creative, inspiring, highly intelligent children and then young adults. But there's a stigma surrounding the talking about this. And I think to
Right.
bring this forward and offer people that are going through this, have gone through this, the knowing that professionals, just as yourself, in this very field, still can go through this. And so at the Reinvented Life, I think it's incredibly important that we bring all stories forward, that we bring all types of reinvention forward. And really, this is just a beginning of reinventing your life. And her legacy, her memory, actually, as I opened this up, the grief intertwined with her love still exists. And to bring this forward with as much love and as much compassion and grace as you do is quite remarkable. So that fateful day, that call that you and your husband got was just probably inconceivable. And I think the message here is that one is sometimes never prepared for the unexpected.
Very true. Her and I were very connected. Even astrologically, we were both Taurus with Gemini rising. We're very connected in this life. So the days before Ariana passed, I was almost inconsolable and I couldn't figure out why. I really
Mhm.
believe we're connected on a lot of different levels, including soul levels. And I knew something terrible was going to happen. And I had no reason at that point to tangibly believe that, although I knew she was struggling, but I knew on some level. And so it speaks to kind of the connection we have with the people that we love. And I agree with you about the stigma. That's why I'm coming forward, because there's so much stigma with mental health and substance use issues. And, I told a bunch of the people that I'm on a support site that have lost their kids in the same way. And I asked them things that they wanted me to say. And it was about better health care for substance use and mental health insurance coverage. A lot of insurances don't cover it. They don't acknowledge it. They judge the people that are struggling. Ariana, part of her problem in life was she was very judged for the issues that she had. And people internalize that. People get hurt by that. We need to do better. We need to not just fix things with medication. We need to fix it's a cultural problem. It's a lot of what people were talking about. And that's why I'm coming forward, because I'm coming forward for me and my story and Ariana, but I'm coming forward for all of us parents. And I asked for their feedback because of that. And they really want me to talk about this and how difficult it was for all the families that have gone through this. and not getting what they needed for themselves or their kids. So I feel like I'm speaking for all of us.
And I think that is the importance. That is how you carry her legacy forward and honor her, is to be there as a support for other families that have gone through this, and be a literal lighthouse, how I see you, for those
Mhm.
families that are currently struggling. The struggle of what your child and what you as a parent are going through is enough, let alone the social pressures and the stigma surrounding it and the judgment that surrounds it. You know,
Yeah.
these children and young adults experience such judgment early on. She could not have had more loving parents, more loving extended family and friends. But people focus on what is wrong with it
Yeah.
instead of what is the light contained within it.
It's very true. Very true. And that's why it was really important for me to come on and talk about her light, because it's definitely noticed that she's not here. She was a bright light in our lives. And I'm proud of us because as much as we went through with her, our family stuck together and we loved her to death no matter what. It's not that we didn't have struggles with her and we didn't fight sometimes or have, her mental health issues and upset didn't affect our family. It did. It affected all of our mental health, but
Mm-hmm.
we always quickly came back to love because that was the most important thing. And I know in my heart, she knows that. She knew that. She knew we were a safe place to land for her. So I'm really, really grateful for that. And just what she brought into our life. I mean, she would food was love for her, so she would cook for us and she would say, I want to try out a new recipe, and she would bring, I'd go to the store with her and say, okay, what do we need? I was like her sous chef, and we would cook together and she would make this amazing food for us, and I can't hold a candle to her cooking. Really miss that. Yeah. So, she just showed us love in so many ways. On Mother's Day, or maybe it was my birthday. On my birthday during COVID, we had a little party out in the garden here, just us. And she said, Mom, I'm going to paint your toenails for you because, you can't go
Oh,
get them done. And so, I have pictures of her painting my toenails. She was very loving and giving. And um, I'm just so grateful for the time I had with her here. So grateful. And she taught me really unconditional love. She taught me how to love in a much deeper way. And so for that, I am grateful for her.
you know, her loss is so great and it's very incomprehensible in many ways. But her life, and this is the important part, was even greater.
Yeah.
So short in years, but huge in magnitude, whether it
Hmm.
was her cooking or her art or her words. She condensed into her short life more than most people allow themselves to express. She had no reservation of expression. And that is what is so beautiful, is you now carry on that expression of her life for her and in her honor.
Yeah.
I know you have
Yeah.
poetry you've written, and I don't know if you're prepared to share any of that, but would love our listeners and our viewers to get a glimpse into that.
Sure. I mean, this is really my grieving process that I'm sharing with you through this. I One of the ways that I grieve Ariana and allow myself to grieve her is I walk. I do walks and I listen to podcasts that I like to listen to, but I also just get in touch with her, and I can really get in touch with her in nature. I want to show you this picture. This is by a stream that her and I used to walk on. This is her. I'm going to show you a little bit of her. This is her and her mama at a mother-daughter. I don't know if you can see it, but it's at
Beautiful.
we were
We
at
can
a
see it.
mother-daughter weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is her at the stream. She's very happy in nature, as you can see.
Yes.
And so when I walk by the stream, I feel her. And I also feel like in some ways we're writing this together and she's coming through to me. So I get a lot of inspiration there. And I'll just read the first one that comes up. It says, "My heart aches by the river. I see you in the stream, resting weariness as the shore holds me up. I'm here, Mama, in the reflections of a timeless flight. No beginning, oh, I'm gonna cry, or end, just as I am now. Pure love, pure existence, pure being, nothing more, nothing less, formed from the shadows of my soul, of the oneness where we all arrive here from and all eventually return to again. I will be here waiting, Mama. Tragedy hit, life turned upside down, heartbroken, shattered, really, breathless, unable to move. Then shadows in the dark, stirrings from within, a knowing I'm here. I will draw for you my new life in the waters by our house. You will know undeniably it is me. You will open up to something not even thought possible. Eternal life, eternal love, connections that can never be broken. I am here in the middle. We can meet. A new language without words. Your signature artistry I can decipher. Meanings from the images in the stream. Sweet dog faces sending love, courage, inspiration. Your canvas is our eternal message board now."
So beautiful. By that stream, you feel it, we saw it, and we heard it. This is only the beginning of capturing her light, shedding that light to the world. I look forward to next week on the Reinvented Life show, where we talk about where this story has gone and where it's continuing to go. And again, I compliment your courage, your bravery, addiction, struggles, all of it is contained within her light. But your willingness to bring it forward is what this Reinvented Life show is all about, is constantly embracing the change that enters our lives, expectedly or unexpectedly, and how to maintain the most glorious life possible, even within the tragedy. As I opened it up, love and grief can remain as one. And I want to thank you, Renee. I want to thank you for your courage to come forward, to speak so eloquently about your daughter. Cannot wait to have you back on the Reinvented Life next week. To our listeners and our viewers, this isn't an easy subject matter, but it's an important one because addiction is everywhere, no matter what form, and it doesn't have to be something that one is judged by. So again, thank you, Renee Miller. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our viewers for really taking on a listening for and having space for something as important as this. I do wish everyone light, a wonderful day and a wonderful week, and look forward to having you back with us next week on the Reinvented Life.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in to The Reinvented Life with Pamela Chanel David. Tune in each week so we can work and grow together to become the best version of ourselves. Keep striving, keep dreaming, keep working, and embrace change. You may contact Pamela Chanel at info@thereinventedlife.com.